Alrighty, folks. I have Akshat Dhawan with me today. Akshat, before I turn it over to you, I'll just do a quick introduction for you. Akshat is an entrepreneur to the core, if I know one. He's always searching for new ideas around art, nature, technology, and there's just a whole lot to talk about. But I think there's what I want to mention in this moment right now is that one of the first few entrepreneurial endeavors that I got involved with was with Akshat actually, and it was VR Monk. And so I think we're going to talk a lot about Akshat's entrepreneurial journey, and I don't know where to begin, Akshat, but I feel like we should talk about your days as an entrepreneur in Santa Monica in Los Angeles with Philtosh, and then we can dive deeper into all the visions that you have supported. But how have you been, man? It's great. It's great to see you.
I've been good, man, and just like you know, just grinding and hustling around, and I think that's like something uh, which has become like innate inside like me now, right? That every day like you get up and you hit the deck hard, and you try to work on your deliverables, your to-do lists, and and trying to also figure out a balance now, because I've understood now that need to balance like my work life with my personal life. So just making sure that I'm getting like some trekking in my schedule, or like some workouts and stuff like that. But other than that, just like working and really enjoying this journey. As you mentioned about this entrepreneurial journey, of course I started like very early, like as you mentioned. But it feels good, feeling content and happy, like that's where I am right now, right? Like uh, when when you mentioned about Philtosh, it's and our meeting, I actually am like a big fan of yours to begin with, right? Like I think that more than my journey, your journey should be documented as well, while we are at it. Because I remember the days when you were working with Ernst and Young, and then of course, like super involved in understanding where how human computer interaction and like spatial computing is heading towards, taking the plunge towards VR, and of course like doing more things in the middle. And it seems like that you ended your Los Angeles journey with Fox, right? Is that like where you ended, right?
That's true, but I mean, let me tell you one thing. When I was working at Ernst and Young, I was very fortunate to get the job, and I had student loans on me, and so I needed a way to pay those loans off and also maintain my work visa. But I would observe you building something from the ground up, and that was to me was very fascinating because I saw you just always consumed with ideas and things that you were genuinely very passionate about. And obviously Rishabh was your co-founder, and Rishabh Sahu, for people who are watching this, was my roommate from college at USC. And so I that's how I got introduced to you, and the two of you, for me it was like two guys passionate about an idea and just giving everything that they have to this to their baby, to their vision. And it definitely felt very romantic at the time, to think about being in your shoes. And I would always keep talking to you guys, and when I would speak to you guys, I felt like I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, how to start a company, how to incorporate a company, getting bank accounts, cap tables, and raising money, and building MVPs, and so let's just focus on that today, because I think that's kind of what is the film is about. It's just going through that journey of defining a vision and committing to it, and going for it. So Filtosh, I thought, was really cutting edge in its vision, because it wasn't just just a random recruiting platform. I think you guys had injected a lot of tech into it, into your first prototype, into your first MVP, and then you had, ideas which were genuinely very futuristic and were geared to sort of, help employers find the best talent in the world. So I think let's just start with that, because let's talk about the Filtosh vision and a little bit before we
I'll
jump
actually
into other stuff.
a little bit about the journey rather, and
Yeah.
actually, like coming from an engineering background, I actually studied at Purdue, and I did my industrial engineering there. Uh, my first job, rather, I always wanted to work in the automobile sector to begin with. And my first job was Caterpillar, and it was like perfect. I was like, hey, man, life is perfect. I'm working for a massive like automobile company, right? And getting to learn a lot because my role there was more of a designer in some sense, because I did a lot of like 3D modeling and stuff for in my coursework. So my boss there, his name was, I'm very fond of him. His name was Terry McIntosh, right? So Terry was uh, very supportive of like, this like young chap, like, has very interesting ideas, but also a little aloof and, uh, you know, uh, so that started. And and I was always like pitching ideas, and the idea of like Filtosh came because I felt that there was a major gap, right? Like uh, I feel that like like a lot of people, like because I was grinding through the whole job market space at that time, right? So I understood that who I am, I was not able to get like communicated to uh, the 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 employer rather, right? Like who I am and what my personality is. So I felt that I need to do something so that you know a piece of paper doesn't represent us, right? Like there is more and deeper levels to a person's like character. And and I felt that need to do something, pitched the idea to Rishabh, and things started working. We moved to firstly Washington DC, like actually Richmond in Virginia, and then we ended up moving to LA, right? Like that was the point. uh, the See, I think what I've learned through the Filtosh journey, like we raised money, we had like some amazing advisors who came in our life, right? Who literally like uh, taught us like how to be like a better person. I felt that entrepreneurship is like nothing, man. Like actually, like it's a journey to become a better human being, and the better you become, the better your output and your products will be. uh, I personally think when it comes to cutting edge technology, and we lost our path a little bit, and that led to the decline of like our company specifically. Was that we reached a point that we were working with a researcher at UCLA. His name was Professor Roseri. And we reached a point that we felt that like it'll be interesting to figure out how phonetics, like how we
Yeah, I remember that.
remember that, so how we say things, right? How can it determine something about our characteristics, right? Like
Wonderful.
characteristics, because we wanted the employers or our clients to actually have like more data, right? And Roseri's like research is very interesting. And I think that I still use it, like in my life, because what he said was how you pronounce your r's and u's, how you pronounce your vowels, right? They determine how charismatic you are, right?
Interesting.
And he actually used to coach politicians in back in his home country, which was Italy, right? uh,
Mhm.
where when you are giving like public speeches, and when you are addressing a gathering, right? He used to train politicians to become like more charismatic speakers. So we wanted to kind of reverse engineer that. Unfortunately, our vision was not accepted by like some of the investors we pitched to. And that leads to the other sad part about being in being a non-American citizen trying to do work in India, work in America, or
America, yeah, yeah.
Is our H1Bs, right?
Oh, don't get me started on that. But yeah,
I I really feel that like America as a country, like they missed out on both of us, right? And a lot of other entrepreneurs. And I think it's America's loss, to tell you the truth, because we got trained there, we got educated there, right? We were going to be like an asset to the country. Unfortunately, the H1B as a visa, I think, sorry for a lack of but better words, but it is still like, I think, a modern way to enclose like slavery in some sense, because I'm not free to do whatever I feel like, right? If I want to like learn carpentry and like do welding, right? Because I'm an engineer, I need to do a job of an engineer. I cannot like change my career path, right? You
yeah,
are something, you cannot like change that, right? So that restricted us. Unfortunately, my co-founder Rishabh, my H1B got through, his H1B couldn't go through, right? Because there's this like stupid like lottery system, right?
yeah.
Which entails that. And how can we determine like someone's talent and someone's passion by a piece of lottery? Can you imagine that, right?
It's painful.
It's
It's yeah.
so
Uh,
I feel that that led to, plus like our investors like understanding our vision, with especially with what we were planning with Professor Rosary. That led to the decline, and I personally didn't have the energy to do it by myself. I need my co-partner, my partner, because we've built it from scratch, and eventually that led us to like shutting the company. So that was a journey, but a beautiful journey. And I met you guys, the whole team at Servios through this. So
yeah.
thankful to
I
the stars and the universe for bringing you, Mez, Rasik, Bezan, Yarvant, our whole Sophie, right, Ashley, like the crew together,
yeah.
uh, right, like.
That it's very interesting. You bring all these things up at the beginning of the interview. I feel a bit nostalgic, but hey, let's applaud you and Rishabh for having the courage to basically start your own company in the US. And I know that you guys had to go through a lot of like visa issues. And
Yeah.
despite all that struggle, I think you,
Imagine that, man. We are parallelly working with an immigration lawyer,
yeah,
and we are a startup. So can you imagine the amount of capital like is going just to make sure that we stay in a country,
yeah,
where we are actually paying the taxes, right? We are, whatever income we are gaining from our tiny startup, we're paying it back to the ecosystem.
yeah,
Plus, in order to maintain our legal status, we have to pay immigration lawyers. And we are blessed also, yeah, like I think met some incredible lawyers, like I want to bring into attention like this lawyer of mine, Tahima Watson, right? She's a Bangladeshi uh, uh, she's from Bangladesh, she hails from Bangladesh, and she literally like fought for my case in the Congress, man. Like, she actually connected with a congressman in California, right? And she made sure that I get my H1B, right?
wonderful.
Couldn't do enough for Rishabh, right? And yeah, but I feel that there are people like, and I think that deep down, I feel that uh, it's it's something like, which not now, but maybe the Biden administration or a future president, right?
The
Like they're
Rock.
right. They should, yeah, maybe him, right? Like they should address this issue ASAP. Because, see, I'll tell you, like, our culture, which is the Indian culture, is a very inclusive culture, right? We have, like, when you look at the history, like 2000, 3000 years, even further back, right? Like, as a culture, we've been a very inclusive culture. So, inclusivity is innate in us, right? You look at the Parsis, like, immigrating from Iran, right? Or you look at the Tibetans like taking exile in India, right? We are very open about inclusion, right? And I personally feel like the world probably needs to learn a little bit from India and especially America, because like truly, like I feel it's their loss. They are spending so much money, and the top educationists in the world are based in America, right? That's why we chose an American education. So I do want to put in this point of in this podcast today, that that definitely like someone should hear our voices and make better changes in the H1B system, and in general, like how immigrants are treated, because it is a beautiful country, America. I love America, and no one can take America out of me. I've spent a decade in the country, right? Uh, but uh, but it is sad that I couldn't do and I couldn't live in that country as freely, like as it promised me. It really,
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to
right.
summarize your feelings. And I obviously have been in a similar situation as you, and definitely, I think the term for people like us is like open border advocates of sorts, right? Because we're talking about inclusivity and whatnot, and so
I'm willing to be like active and actually speak about the subject in further detail on some other forum also,
we
Ashish.
we're actually considering this theme for a film. Just so you know, so there's definitely like a lot of conversations happening within the creative team around this theme. I mean, to be honest, to be able to make this film possible, we may actually have to have a few of our American colleagues fly down to India, because it depends on how much funds we are able to raise to be able to get to final cut. And that goes to tell you that ideas cannot be stopped. Like good ideas, you always find a way to come to fruition. And so for me, it's yes, there's this American dream that even I was trying to build for myself.
Right.
But I think what I really want to emphasize is it's the American dream mentality
Correct.
that can be embodied by anyone and everyone who watches this film, because,
No one can take the American out of us, right? Like, even if we are here, and of course, like no one could change our DNA because we are Indians, but that is like innate in us. But I spent a decade, you probably spent like a little less,
a decade, yeah, 9 years.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think like, anyone can change that American dream mentality, as you mentioned beautifully. Uh, and of course we owe that to America and the beautiful people of America,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this project is really like, we're definitely going on a tangent, but a good one at that. And we're definitely like, the goal of this project for me, I mean, honestly, like I started doing this project because I didn't want to lose touch with all those people,
Right.
so I wanted to ensure that there is a way to stay in touch with them. And that's why, I'm big on spatial tech as well, because, I think that technology, virtual reality and augmented reality, is going to help us with the open border idea, because there's going to be a lot more trust on the spatial internet as opposed to like the 2D Zoom we're doing. And something that a lot about, we've talked about this in the past. And then, the wealth could spread because of remote work, and with wealth spreading to, other parts of the world where there's talent that deserves to make that income, then we can, world can genuinely become a better place, is what I believe in. But again, coming just quickly summarizing Filtosh, because it's this interview is about Akshat Dhawan expressing himself, and you really are. And so Filtosh, like that one idea of using phonetics and the research around it, that you were doing, and incorporating that to gauge a candidate's honesty or their character, and then making hiring decisions. For me, it was like man, you guys are really doing some cutting edge work, because it wasn't just thinking about cutting edge work, but it was actually taking action on those ideas and trying to incorporate that tech into your recruiting platform, which I thought was a great vision to have for a company like Filtosh. But that was Filtosh. So, but after Filtosh, I think you continued your journey as an entrepreneur. You, similar to a lot of us, were very fascinated by virtual reality and augmented reality, and that started VR Monk.
Right.
And then you had you were also doing some well-intentioned artwork with Beautify Earth. So I don't know where to, like, what's a good next
I'll,
vision to discuss. So I'll leave that on you. Like, where
I'll, again, like, see, like, man, I have so much gratitude for like our crew, which I mentioned earlier. uh, I think that, of course, like VR Monk was the next step, like, definitely, because, being so close to people who are behind, like, Servios specifically, right? Like, and, getting to actually sign the NDAs and, like going to their office, late at night, sometimes a little drunk, and actually playing games. And, I felt that that introduction to that world was beautiful, and I'll always remember that and cherish that part of my life. Uh, but for me, like, I'll tell you, man, like, there's a deeper reason why I started VR Monk, right? And I'm still continuing to do, at least, like, I'm not like operating it as a business, but I am keeping it as an educational subject, and VR Monk is like nothing but I just want to give knowledge what I have gained through my personal thought, right? Uh, I when in college in Purdue, I was part of this, like, a really interesting laboratory. It was called the Hive Lab, right? And it was run by a professor called Professor Yi Sui, right? Professor Yi was like I would say, like, he actually introduced this whole idea of like a human interacting with a machine, right? Or a human interacting with a computer, right? So the Hive Lab was totally about it was not as cutting edge as VR and AR, like, they were not doing research specifically on that, but their understanding was that how is human and computer interaction becoming better. And we are talking about, like, eras, right? That there have been like 4 5 eras, right? Like era one being character based UI, then graphic user interface coming, then tactical, because we are touching screens and they are reacting, and of course, like, fourth being like spatial computing. So I was already aware about it with Servios and that whole chapter in my life, right? I actually saw it in front of my eyes, that how the industry is like transforming. So so it was a natural step. uh, but I always wanted to do VR Monk only for the educational purpose. I don't think that I like, if to be honest, I'm telling you honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the technology. I was, but I think that what dreams and ambitions I have when it comes, and what, like, I would say, like, what vision I had, I think VR as a and AR as a technology has disappointed me, unfortunately, because I think that it has so much more potential than what it has become. uh, I think that I still will put both the technologies in a frame of reference, that it is made for the privileged and it is for the privilege, right? Like, to afford the tech, to even experience the tech and reap benefits of it. I think that, of course, like, the use of VR or AR in, I think, the medical sciences is something interesting and very powerful. But other than that, I don't know if it's changing a lot, like, of how human computer interaction is evolving. Maybe I'm out of touch also, so I will have a separate conversation with you about it on a later stage. But to finish my thought, like when I looked at VR, man, I personally like felt that, man, like VR is, I still remember when I moved back to India and I'm giving like my first lecture on VR technology at a very small gathering, like 100 people or something. You know,
Wonderful.
I was telling, I had literally hand sketched a graph of human evolution, right?
Yeah.
How humans evolved, like from this, we got erect. And then because of like 2D mediums of interaction, like we are
We're
doing today,
looking at the phone and our body posture changed.
we're going back to the hunched back, right?
Yeah.
I felt that VR will make our postures better, right? Like we will not be like confined to like a screen in this format. We won't be communicating in this format. We will be erect and we'll be walking and we'll be running around,
Yeah.
right? I think it disappointed me in that sense, because I don't think anyone marketed it like that, or maybe like the people uh, behind VR are not pushing this agenda further. But I definitely feel that it kind of like disappoints me a little bit that it has not like lived up to the vision it has. It's intellectually stimulating, I agree. VR is something, I think, when it comes to another intern who worked with me in VR Monk back in back in LA, right? His name I completely forget. I'm sorry about that, but he was studying at Berkeley, and he said that he's working on a research with his professor, that they're trying to measure like awe, right? Like someone feeling like that feeling of like awe, right? VR was one of those experiences which will give you awe, right, across the board, right? I personally think VR can be like used definitely in like in healing patients who are suffering from like depression, right? But unfortunately, like I don't see a lot of things happening, and I'm disappointed with generally the people behind the the investors or the companies which are building products. They're more interested in like building like rabbit holes, like metaverses, right? Like, and shit like that, unfortunately. But you'll rather like use it for humans to heal, right? Like, as a healing device, it is. If across the board everyone can feel awe when you're experiencing a virtual reality experience, right? Why can't we like research more and make sure that things like depression, things like anxiety, things like especially like human psychological diseases can be solved. I personally see that VR has that capability, but I don't know a lot of people doing work in that field. So that's one disappointment. Now, sorry to like, I know you
Now I'm
want.
listening. I'm like absorbing everything you're saying.
But now
Yeah.
coming back and with a lot of gratitude to like our crew, and specifically, I want to mention Rasik and Sophie here, because man, they were the people who instigated this whole idea of a paint tribe, you know, and I think that like this is like me, like, and I could feel my awakening as an artist going to gatherings on a full moon night,
Moon
right?
Drive.
Moon tribe, right? And and like this whole idea that we have a good time, we are like with the closest people we want to be with, energies are in sync, right? You get up, there's a crisp sun, the desert sun of the Mojave desert. You pull out your canvas and you start painting, right? Oh my god, man, what a experience. And I am so thankful to both, I'm specifically mentioning to Sophie and Rasik, but of course like Alex and whoever participated, even you,
Everybody. Yeah.
we, and man, like it opened up the artist in me. I was very good at the craft, till a certain point, and then when I took the route of engineering, I just completely stopped painting and doing anything creative, right? uh, and the whole idea of a paint tribe really opened my mind to this another realm, which I am so thankful to, and that is the point I realized that, it's okay for me to go back to India now because I am enlightened, you know, and trust me, man, like I would
No,
have
that's interesting you
that
say
I
that. Yeah.
can't pursue arts in America because of my H1B and because of
Yeah.
because of this, like you could say like a sticker which is stuck on my chest that hey, this chap is an engineer. He can't do anything else, right? In the country,
H1B engineer at that.
right? And parallelly, like I came across like two or three like amazing people, Heather, Evan, and Ruben, right? So they are the
You might
founders.
as well just make it LA, I love you.
I love you, right? So, I met these chaps, in the co-working space we were working at, to build Filtosh and then later we are Monk, right? Uh, and these guys run a non-profit called Beautify Earth, right? And their whole
So
idea.
before we come to Beautify Earth, I just want to quickly go back to like, the VR feelings you have, right? And then, so just to sort of wrap up that whole conversation for this, for the little time we have today.
I'm
So
sorry, man.
yeah,
I'm very
no,
much.
you're good. I wanted you to just, go to the town and express everything, right? So, I mean, I think I was in a very similar boat to you. I don't know what your first VR experience was, but I was thrown into a co-op experience of raw data at Servios when they were like a Series A funded company and they were working in that smaller office in Culver City. And
Similar times, man. Similar times.
yeah,
Uh, I
and
actually, yeah, continue, please. Sorry.
and so for me, it was like, God damn, I'm inside a game and this looks so, well polished.
Yeah.
And it was a really good prototype. And, it wasn't nauseating. And I could see somebody else embodied as like an avatar of like a, gunslinging
Seeing your
character. You could
uh,
see your arms and you could like shoot everybody and like
these guys are
immediately.
geniuses, man. These guys are geniuses. Like what they
Yeah.
achieved at Servios is wow. It's
It
too good.
was it was a very it was a pioneering VR game at the time, right? Raw data, and then obviously Electronauts came through, which was also an amazing game. But like for me, that first experience was enough to convince myself that okay, if I've come to the US, uh, I don't want to just have a job. I want to be able to make, because if I'm working in technology, like I want to be making the best technology and the most cutting edge technology. And so, I basically made a huge shift from my job at Ernst and Young, which I think was a great job to have for anyone to have a career and, have a good life. And a lot of amazing people worked at Ernst and Young. But that was really like the motivation behind that switch. And similar to you, like even I am disappointed with how VR, AR industry has progressed over the past decade or so, and especially the last 5 years. But I've managed to come across people in this space who have found a way to keep themselves inspired and overcome their own artist struggle and live out their beliefs of, hey, this technology has a positive side. And they have been, I think Christina Heller deserves a shout out here. Like people like her, I believe, have had have been very consistent in at least highlighting the positive aspect of this technology, which I think is important to highlight in this film, because if this technology progresses, then the world needs to pay attention to the positive aspect of VR and AR, as opposed to like, the dystopian version that a lot of people float around, right? And I think so that's basically the struggle of an artist, right? We're trying to imagine a vision and trying to turn it into a reality. And what it requires is a lot of commitment, which comes with sacrifice, and then great artistry to catch attention for the positive aspect that they believe in, and then manifesting that, as opposed to all the negative use cases like, oh, there's going to be trackers everywhere. on the roads, and the government's going to be spying on you because of those trackers. If you return everything into a spatial field, then you have no privacy. Well, let's work with the politicians and the technologists to avoid that from happening, because that does seem like a bit of a problem, right?
And actually, to talk about the subject, I see it. What I meant, don't take me wrong, and I
No,
don't.
no, I'm literally just like trying to explore the various.
I don't even want the audience to feel that I am anti this tech. I'm pro this tech. I feel that it has so much uh, uh, potential, but a very important point you mentioned, about privacy, for example. I personally think that all across the board, when it comes to technology, I think uh, this is a very deep thought, and it might take a little time if I'm continuing this thought.
We
But
should,
I have to say this, right?
yeah.
It's about ethics, right? I'll try to be very quick in this. Ethics, right? I personally think that, all engineers who are working in this field, not just VR, but AI, all the high tech, you could say, uh, they should definitely learn about ethics, right? And understanding the core subject of ethics. I think for them, it should be pivotal to understand subjects like philosophy, psychology as well. Uh, in general, social sciences should be taught with the curriculums while we're producing amazing engineers in this field, right? Ethics should be a part of the curriculum, so that whenever future technologies are getting built, right, they should be built in a way that the problems you just mentioned about, just undue tracking, and our private information and our privacy getting installed, and of course the it's a rabbit hole if we continue speaking,
Yeah.
right? But I think ethics will play a part. Second thing which I feel, and why I am actually waiting for an internet 2.0 or a 3.0 or 4.0, is that I feel, because I'm very deeply, I see, I was a feminist all my life, right? Because I grew up with a lot of sisters. I'm the only kind of a male person in my whole family, goddamn family, right? So for me to understand how women are, understanding someone PMSing, and understanding all these factors was very innate in me, right? I personally think patriarchy in the workforce is another issue which needs to get solved, right? I personally think that you look at all the tech, 90% of this tech is made by males, right? The codes are getting written by males, right? Of course, uh, there are exceptions where we have women founders now working in high tech, right? But the diversity is a big concern for me, right? I personally think that if males, we are anyways living in a patriarchal world to begin with, right? When all these technologies which is influencing human beings, right, on a very core level now, it's getting developed and the codes are written by males, right? And uh, so how do we think that a male is going to create an equal product, right? So the diversity, it is not just cultural diversities in the workforce. Definitely I think gender diversity is gender equality rather in the workforce is important, because otherwise we are going to face a lot of issues, my friend. I
Yeah,
feel and I personally think I'm saying a very high number, 90% males,
it's
right?
crazy.
Is a
Yeah.
high number. In reality it could be 98%.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, I think in the spatial tech world, I'm glad that at least
We
in
have some.
our community we have some female leaders. I mean, Christina comes to mind, but yes, it's a very serious problem and
And
needs to
you
be
look at
addressed.
Facebook, man.
Yeah.
Sorry to Facebook and Zuckerberg here, but it was
Akshat's on a roll. I love it. Yeah.
What was Zuckerberg's initial idea? It was called face smash, right?
Yeah, that's
Patriarch.
a whole nother. Yeah, that was disappointing. But like you said, I think to your own point, entrepreneurship helps people become better human beings. And I
Yeah.
think Zuckerberg has also transformed. I know a lot of people shit on Facebook and whatnot, but see, like in general, morality and ethics, they're complex ideas.
No, I like
Someone
Zuckerberg.
needs,
I like
yeah,
Zuckerberg. I like.
even if someone doesn't like it, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, like in this moment, very quickly, like morality and ethics in general are complex ideas. Someone eats meat, someone doesn't eat meat, and and yada yada. But like I think what I admire in any entrepreneur is the idea of them being vulnerable, telling the world what they believe in, and then taking action on their beliefs, right? So idealism and positivity, I think, are the the one two important best friends that an artist and an entrepreneur can have. So I was just thinking about this idea because we touched on morality and ethics and the idea of entrepreneurship helping you become a better person, which I think
Absolutely.
Feel the Flow is about.
The only pursuit, and that is the reason,
Because I
man.
can sense a lot of like,
You are doing something so pure, man. Like it's like almost like giving birth to a baby, right?
yeah,
Right? And like how can you, after having your own child, how can you not make a better world? How can you not be a better person if you are doing entrepreneurship to make a few money, right? Oh, I'm gonna screw people up, right? I'm gonna, right? Then what's the fucking point? You know,
yeah, it's
why you put this energy in this universe? Like it's destructive energy, it's negative energy, and I don't think like people should have that intention, but of course like people.
talking about intention, right? So I think what you're alluding to is like the concept of dark arts, so it's like you brought up Moon Tribe and how it helped you open up as an artist to the point that you probably sensed like that flow state, and that you were like, you know what, I can always try to aspire to tap into this flow state by just being an artist, and I will be content wherever I am, even if I have to go back to India because of my H1B issues. I mean, that's how I interpret that, because Moon Tribe was just such a very well-intentioned gathering of people, right? With like, live in love being the message at the core of it all. And I'm sure Dayla, if she ever watches this interview, will get a little kick out of it, because she's one of the biggest evangelists of that philosophy of living in love.
Yeah, man, like I absolutely love the people behind Moon Tribe, and I see like, people who we used to look forward to, like Della, Moon Tribe, and so many other, Trevor and all. I'm pretty sure you guys are like speaking to them on a daily basis. And of course, like, I really like want to like thank you and, Rasik and David, your team, right? Like, to actually take this step, because actually what Moon Tribe is like something very pure, very clean, and and it should, I feel that like it really uh, should be protected, and that whole idea of a gathering should be uh, looked upon as like an ideal thought. I think of how learning and even education can be. Like I still remember, Ashish, I'll tell you this one time, right? Like at Moon Tribe, there's this chap, like he was trying to balance himself on a sphere, right? It's a huge sphere, right? And I'm like, man, like I want to, like I want to maybe try it,
It
then
makes me want to hang out with you.
right, like, and I'm like, hey man, like can you please teach me how to do that? And he was like, why not? So, and literally, man, like I still remember he made me draw an X on the ground, right? And he's like, hey, put all your intention and focus on that X. Don't even think that you're trying to stand.
The technique to master an art form.
And in 2 attempts, I was like standing on a sphere. Can you imagine that? Like, which is so I personally think that's like a great way to get educated, man. Right? Like, when like, so that's a beautiful.
Through community and just that playful mindset. Okay, I'm just gonna do random things and make a few friends and learn about new art forms. It's just it's hard to explain that philosophy, but really, like, that's what we're really trying to do with Stop at Zero as well. And I would love for you to like join forces with us, man. Like, because if we can, I think, spread that a vision of playfulness and putting in good intentions, and build like a group of people who can clean streets in India, zero trash on the streets, play up, have a good time, enjoy just having fun, and build a community with good intentions, with that idea of allowing yourself to look stupid when you're expressing yourself with different art forms as part of the after party of the cleanup event and things of those nature. I think we would not only do service, but also, like, build like a community which allows us to be the best version of ourselves, and not be fearful of being who we are.
Right, right.
So
No, I have already signed up, and I've promised you that that I am coming to Jodhpur. Very
yes, I love it.
I wanted to do it last year, but unfortunately I couldn't make it because I had to go to Kashmir. I had mentioned.
It's gonna be better because now you're gonna be here. So
I am really happy that you have actually added this to your this like mammoth task, rather, to your journey. And I am going to do anything in my ability to come and actually support you. And I wish you and your whole team in Jodhpur also like a lot of like gratitude and a lot of like kudos to you guys, man. Like, what you guys are doing is setting that intention, right? And it is coming from a very pure it's coming from a very pure, like, the inception is so pure that, and I'm seeing so pure, man. You are a pure chap, and you're a clean guy,
I mean,
and
we need you, man. We need you to come and basically explain the vision to people, right? So I think, look, for me, I similar to you. I don't want to lose touch with people that we spend our 20s with,
right.
not single one of them, right? So, like, I mean, I'll tell you, the only reason why I feel motivated to make this film is because I don't want to lose them from my life. Like, so that's at the core of it all. And so you're part of it, and so we are part of it, and so we're gonna do what we need to do to bring the vision home. uh, I wish we had more time to talk about a lot of other things today, but very quickly, because this interview is focused on Akshat Dhawan and all the visions that he has supported. Let's jump into. We couldn't touch about Beautify Earth. We should have separate conversations, because Beautify Earth was amazing. Just making murals and in different parts of the city. I think Beautify Earth should be like part of like Stop at Zero at some point, and we need you to make that happen, right? So let's table that conversation for another time.
I'll make it happen, and I would love to come paint a mural.
Yeah. And so like, I mean, I think
you can do it as a community thing.
Absolutely. So I think we know that there are a lot of like mutual interests between us, and so we will keep taking just small actions one by one, and make a difference. We try to make a good difference. But before we wrap up this interview, I want to quickly talk about Reformary, because that's the most recent vision that you're on, right? And I have the website open here in front of me, and it's just like any other vision that you have supported. This again feels very well intentioned, inspired by nature, life, and biomimicry, designing a sustainable and healthy world. Tell me more. What's up with this? What's the idea behind this? And just like a quick summary of what inspired you to do this. and where you would like it to go? Just those two aspects.
Uh, so to just quickly wrap up like my journey, I moved back to India, right? And
Yeah.
the one of the reasons I moved back to India was because my dad is a timber merchant, okay, and
Yeah.
I had always had this intention that I want to get into sustainable housing, right? Like, I felt that construction is like something which I wanted to do. So I started like Studio Mokozai with two visions. One was to get into sustainable construction, and the other vision was to actually experiment with materials, right? Because I felt that, Studio Mokozai gave me the opportunity to learn how to do carpentry. So I learned how to become a carpenter. I learned how to actually, fabricate iron, right? So when I was like learning this, and I got like very lucky that I got to do some amazing work during this. Reformary came into my life. It's a pandemic baby, truly. Man, like we have hit the lockdown, right? And and I'm like thinking what to do, and I'm reading a lot of like, I love like looking into patterns, right, Ashish? I love patterns, and I was like looking at the pattern that what happens when a pandemic, a pandemic is not new, right? Human civilization has faced multiple pandemics in its course, and what actually happens after the pandemic. I was trying to envision that and read, right? uh, so when I was seeing, like, I saw that uh, uh, like, for example, the renaissance art movement, happened like after the pandemic, right? Where uh, you know uh, for example, like prior to that, like, you could not paint a photograph of like someone naked, right? In culturally, in like, in Europe and Italy specifically, right? Like, and after the pandemic, that gave birth to this whole like renaissance movement where nudist paintings became a thing, right? So people's mind like opened up after it took a pandemic to shake humanity, to actually open up simple things like sexuality, like a human's like sexuality and representation of that in an art form. Because even art was, you could say, like it was shackled, right? And
Yeah.
the pandemic like unshackled that, right? So I looked at that. And the second thing I looked at,
Probably because like people were so pent up that they
yeah,
just wanted
and
an
they
emotional release, and that manifested
yeah, like so
in the
many artists
art.
died, and people like, "Ki, fuck the government, fuck the church."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
sorry to say those stupid words,
But
but
disenfranchised
yeah,
emotions leading to radical ideas, which
radical.
eventually got accepted as art, like good
Right.
art,
And
right?
now, like, man, we only talk about the Renaissance art movement. Like, most of the artists we talk about, may it be Leonardo da Vinci to anyone. Like, everyone is a product of that, right? Uh, Now, like, comes the second part, which I looked into the same pattern, is patents, right? I understood, I saw that a lot of patent filing happened after a pandemic prior. So I
Interesting.
felt that key, man, like this is the only opportunity in my life that I'm going to sit down, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to think of like ideas where I can like file patents for, cause I am not going to get another opportunity in my life to sit at home idly, right? Cause my business, cause I was doing a lot of commission work, right? I was not a service provider or a product seller at Mokozai. I was doing commissioned art pieces for people, right? You hire me, hey, I want an art installation in my house, or you come, hey, I want you to paint a mural, right? Hey, you come and you design something for me, right? I was
Wonderful.
not getting any of that work. I was like, perfect, I'm gonna focus on like building intellectual property, all the ideas. So I opened my notebook and I started writing, right? And I get a lot of ideas, man, and I never get to work on them. So I used the pandemic to kind of like make a list, right? And then hashed out like the things I really care about, right? And one of the things, of course, was uh, uh, the birth of Reformary. Reformary is actually uh, a research and design lab, right? and we are specifically focused on inventing new materials, right? New
Wow.
biomaterials, to be specific. uh, the idea was that ki, man, there is like so much of like indigenous knowledge, right, especially in our country, right?
Yeah.
uh, when it comes to like materials, like especially in the construction space, right? You look at like every part of India you travel to, from Ladakh to Kashmir to Himachal to Punjab to Uttarakhand to Rajasthan to uh, UP to Bihar, anywhere across, go to the southern India like Kerala, Karnataka, right? Every state will have like a different architectural style and a different indigenous knowledge of how materials, like building materials, are, right? Unfortunately, I look at this that wherever I travel now, I'm only seeing like brick and mortar, and like especially the use of like cement, like RCC, is in like a pivotal, is used quite a lot across the board. That I look at as a big problem. So what we are trying to do with Reformary is that, man, like we are trying to uh, create like a system where we are like creating like new biomaterials in our labs, right, which will be used in the construction space, to be specific, right, like right now. And the idea is to uh, keep it a secret. So right now what you see on the website is not determining that, because it's all a secret. I'm telling you that this is our game plan, that 2 years we are just going to file patents, right? Right, and then we will get into product development. Right now Reformary is a made up word, right? And I want to thank like my co-founder Adishri, right, like who is an amazing person, and I can't thank her enough for coming in my life, right? Because it was actually her, she called me and we started discussing, and I was telling her that, hey, I want to file patents. She's like, I want to build Reformary. So I was like, okay, let's do it together, right? And Reformary is actually a made up word, right? So it's made up of two words. One word is reformation and the other word is elementary, right? So you could look at our patents and our research as the reformation bit, Ashish. The elementary bit is the educational bit, which you see on our social media, right? We are looking at climate change, like, as a problem we need to solve, right? And what we are trying to do is we are trying to come up with the right balance of like inventions and education, and they need to kind of like merge together in order for us to actually see a positive change. Uh, so uh, our long term vision, of course, is to build like, an ecosystem rather, right, where uh, all like modern technologies are accepted. Because I love technology, so does Adishri, and we are pro tech, right? Like we are pro 3D printers, we are pro laser cutting machines, we are pro all these like fabrication tools which are available, right? uh, but we definitely feel like what is missing is the indigenous knowledge which our ancestors have left for us, right? And those are actually, those you can only find when you travel and explore. When you will go to Himachal, you will look at like mud homes, right? These mud homes can like stay untouched for 500 years, right?
Interesting.
Right, and when you make like a home out of concrete, like, you have to plaster it with paint every 2 years, otherwise it will break, right?
I love what you're doing with Reformary, because uh, SpiceTech, as you may be aware, if not, I can share this right now. We essentially have three pillars around which we are defining products and services to run the company, and that's art, nature, and technology. So art, making music, making films. With technology, we obviously are excited about the spatial internet, and everything else. We bunch of technologists, all of us, engineering, with engineering backgrounds and tech backgrounds. And then nature, of course, where we have taken notice, because of the pandemic, primarily, I would say that, we need to give back to the environment and focus more on regenerative practices beyond sustainable, where we're giving something back to the system and improving it. The system in this case being nature, and so obviously there's a lot of conversations that we have with people who are into sustainability, into regenerative practices, into circular economy principles, which basically encourage the idea of running a business with the aim of having a more symbiotic relationship with nature. And all these conversations are inspiring us to define certain products. And a couple of things that come to my mind right now is like, that the one product, which is the hashtag say no to 30-year mortgage, which is like a smart community where young people it's kind of inspired by my own personal experience of not being in a position to buy a house when I was young. And see a lot of young people who want to get married and settle down, and they want to buy a house. They should have the opportunity to buy good houses with great aesthetics, and that are actually like cheap, and they don't bond themselves with like a 30-year mortgage, right? So if we can understand the whole science that goes behind building houses that are not very expensive, which is where the Reformary vision is really exciting, because I feel like you're going to unlock some amazing materials there, which because you brought up the mud houses, right? And then your love for technology,
indigenous knowledge, right? And I am completely in your support, and I would love to have another conversation with you on a separate about this. And man, like I'm very much involved, like I think even Yarvant I've spoken to in detail about Reformary. I've also spoken to a few people who have actually so interested that they've actually signed a non-disclosure. So we have started like very open conversations. But as I said, that it's a material science company. One part of it is a material science company which is completely focused on like inventing new biomaterials, right? Which are actually they're indigenous knowledge.
yeah.
Indigenous knowledge. Trust me, man, I'm not like reinventing the wheel here, to tell you the truth.
It's like low-tech solutions, but very effective for the times we live in, right? Yeah.
Right. And truly, like, what I've realized, Ashish, coming back to India, and right, this could be a good concluding statement, if from my end, is that like, I think that American entrepreneurs, European entrepreneurs need to come spend time in countries like India, and need to spend time in like countries like countries of Africa, to actually come up with like the real solutions. I'll tell you, the issue is that, we are inventing like a lot of invention of products is happening in Europe and in America, for example, right? It is happening, right? The problem is that there is a huge disconnect, right? When it comes to uh, how people interact with products, right? How, like, like let's example a cloth, right? Like for example, like cloth is something we can feel and touch, right? It's like a beautiful relationship between our skin and our cloth, right? Which is there, right? If you are like designing uh, like a any product, right? Like there has to be like it has to be in like sync with how it interacts with the human. But more importantly, like, the issue is that, you mentioned about the circular economic principles. I personally think that, uh, I might be like completely wrong about this, but I personally think that, we need to like forget about like, designing or doing anything for humans. We need to start focusing on planet first approach, right? If we are designing for a cleaner and a better planet, it will automatically help humans, right? So I think all our lives we have been told to make products so that it is going to help humans in like a certain way, right? It will save you money, it will, it is going to be more convenient for you as a human. But we never think about that if it is convenient for the planet to actually absorb that product, right? One thing which I need, especially like the European and American entrepreneurs to consider is the whole idea of like toxicology, right? Which I'm like deeply studying. Man, I'm like investing a lot of time in like studying like chemistry and biology now, right? Because I think that they both are like very important subjects. Uh, and I think like toxicology is something which is more important, cause man, like I saw that in the pandemic, Ashish, like right abhi lockdown may we saw this, that air pollution will take 30 days to clean up, right?
Yeah.
You could see mountains sitting in Punjab, man, right? Like from a state, right? You could, but what we cannot fix is the soil and the water, and that is like a bigger issue, and material science is the solution. Because what we are doing is that we are putting like toxic substances into our land and into our water bodies, and then we will reach a point of no return, because reviving like the quality of soil and reviving the quality of the water is a task which humans cannot fix, and we are already like in a very troublesome stage. So I think like it's a very interesting project. I'm very passionate about it. I didn't want to, because this is probably like a longer conversation, but I really feel that like, us humans need to realize that like, there is only one beautiful planet we have, right? And we need to protect it. We need to, because that's the only way in the future, man. Like, we can have like incredible, I already think this way, man, that I believe in the vision of the technology world, right? One day I want AI and robots to actually do everything for me. Trust me, like I'm waiting for that autonomous day to come. But in order to see that day, I need to have a planet, right? What am I going to do with a toxic planet when I have everything? Because I am waiting for the day, man. What is the vision of the technology world, right? Everything is done through autonomy, so that humans, our true potential is creativity. Trust me, we have an artist in everyone. All of us should be creating things. That should be our only job, right? Rest
Yeah.
all the things will be done by computers, and I'm more than happy like giving them control of my life, because I want to create. I want to sit in my corner and paint, right? I want to write poetry, right? I want to do that, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the technology world to take over and control that. But come on, protect the planet.
Love it. I think that's the perfect way to conclude this interview is with that statement. You look, I tell you what I wish for you, Akshat, is that your ideas get a lot of attention. That's what I wish for you in this moment, because I feel like I've never had a moment with you where you've come up with an idea that is not deeply thought through or is not well intentioned, and that has always been that's always been part of your DNA, right? I mean, if you just look at all the visions you have supported. Today we discussed Filtosh. It was about hiring the best people with the best character. Then it was VR Monk. In a way, you were using spatial tech to help people become monks, the best versions of themselves. You turned it into a bit of an educational experience. Then it was Beautify Earth. Then it was Mokazai Studios, where you were doing literally art installations. Now it's Reformary. I salute you, my friend, for
Thank you so
committing to
much.
these
Like,
visions,
see,
right?
like I have to tell you this, that man, like, you guys are the reason, like, I'm like, I feel that like, all of my close friends, and you are of course like one of them, right? Without you guys, man, I keep on like bouncing these thoughts and ideas. You can, whoever comes and visits me or like calls me, right? I'm like literally bombarding them with this, and it's how I personally think that, man, if I have a vision and I only keep it with me, right, it
You have
cannot.
to express yourself, right? Like you
Because
have to share your truth with the world.
the vision will only come to life if I discuss and I share.
Yeah, no, no, I feel you.
And
And that's the whole point of this crowdfunding campaign. That's why you call it Express Yourself campaign. And
Wow.
that's the reason why we're making this film, is to help people understand the crazy mindset of an entrepreneur and artist. Because I mean, it's a painful journey to learn about yourself through self-expression, because a lot of times, your ego comes in the way, you make mistakes, and it's hard to forgive yourself from those mistakes, because heal from them. And so, my friend, I think I've had a great time speaking with you. I mean, needless to say, it goes without saying, we will catch up soon to take action on a lot of things that we discussed today, right? And I'm very glad that this project is helping all of us come together.
Yeah, man. Like, and I really want to take the opportunity to. Sorry, I'm like blabbering, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you, Rasik, David, and the whole team at like SpiceTech, for taking this initiative. Truly, like, there's an artist in everyone, right? And you guys like doing this incredible job to showcase like, or like peeking into all our lives, and trying to understand like our like complex like minds and our complex like characters, and being patient about it. I think it takes a lot of courage, and I feel I give you guys like all my love and my best wishes. And I know that not just this movie, you guys will be making like a lot of cinema and a lot of interesting products in the future. And I would be the first one to be either joining you guys in your drawing board sessions and your wireframing.
We'll be making it together, that's for sure.
I would love to get involved in whatever capacity you guys might feel I can.
We need an Akshat Dhawan, and it's going to happen. And well, this
Always
is
available for you guys, yeah,
yeah,
anytime.
of course. Thank you so much, and looking forward to sharing this interview with people very soon, and looking forward to seeing you in the real
I
very
am coming
soon.
down to Jodhpur and we'll be cleaning up your city, man.
Let's do
And I hope
that.
we'll be doing it soon.
You
All right.
you're welcome anytime, brother. I'll end the interview now. And just my heart is filled with very positive emotions. Let me tell you this,
Thank you, man.
and I've enjoyed every single moment of this conversation with you. Just gives me hope, because my day didn't really start on a very upbeat, positive note, but just somehow like speaking to you right now, and just feeling that nostalgia of Los Angeles, and our crew, and the like-minded people that we have in our community, just gives me a lot of hope that 2022 is going to be very spicy. All right, brother. Okay.
All right. Bye bye. See you, man.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.